Welcome everybody to Alpha Kappa Alpha's Phi Kappa Omega's Facebook page. Today we're going to be discussing about our hashtag CAP program. CAP stands for College Admissions Program. That is one of our targets this year under our new bacillus. So CAP is pretty much a program that helps students, minority students or at-risk students get into college, help them with the application process. As you know, getting to college may be difficult for some because they don't have parental or academic support needed to complete the application or enrollment process. As such, they may be overwhelmed. So the CAP program is to help design and assist young minority high school students and parents with the need. We have four targets that we identify or that we focus on. The first one is search, which allows us to help students search for schools and scholarships that may meet their needs. The second one is test, which helps students prepare and take the required admissions test. Then we have evaluate, which helps students to evaluate the schools which are on their short list of the schools that they think is more optimal for them to go to based off the financial aid package, as well as what aligns with their needs and their interests. We have punctuality, which helps create a timeline for students so they complete things on time and stay ahead of time so that they, of course, can get the most monies available to them, but also be considered as one of the higher picks when it comes to college admissions. And then last but not least, we have positive outlook, which helps students to keep a positive attitude and be optimistic about their future. So we break that down into STEP, STEPP, which stands for search, test, evaluate, punctuality, and positive outlook. I am Sheena Hogue, and I am the chairperson for Phi Kappa Omega's CAP program for the 2018 year. I am also the author of How to Get a Bachelor's Degree with Little to No Debt, and I offer services, webinars, as well as services to help students attend or complete the FAFSA and help them with their financial aid process. Today, I will be talking with Mr. Shireen Hernan Brown. And Shireen, I'm going to read his bio. Shireen is the founder and president of Strategic Admissions Advice. He now leads expert college coaches in counseling many students as early as middle school and throughout high school through often frustrating private school and college admissions maze. With tremendous success, Strategic Admissions Advice has had students accepted to schools such as Brown, Cornell, Columbia, Dartmouth, Duke, Emory, Georgetown, Harvard, Rice, Stanford, Syracuse, Yale, and several other schools. Today, he's going to be joining us as we begin our kickoff for our CAP program, and he's going to be discussing the college admissions process. We're going to have a conversation where she's going to answer some questions. I'm going to answer some questions, and then at the end, we'll conclude with our contact information. If you are interested in joining our CAP program here in the Chicagoland area, I will also provide that information at the end. So how are you doing today, Shireen?
I'm well, Sheena, and I appreciate you for inviting me on your Facebook Live. I'm honored as a distinguished gentleman of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated to support our the lovely ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and I'm excited. I'm excited to share the information that I have with all of your students and the children that you guys work with, as well as their parents. So I'm honored and I'm excited.
Well, thank you again for joining us. You have an extensive background with helping students go to college and helping them to really navigate through the college admissions process in particular to get into these schools. So today, I just want to ask you a few questions. What are some of the top things that you want to encourage students to do, students and parents, when they are applying for colleges? What are some of those top things that you think they really need to pay attention into and focus in on?
It all depends on what point you're starting at. I think your STEP program highlights several good things, but it depends on where you're starting at. If you're a student in high school, at this point, you definitely need to be thinking about exposing your kid or students exposing yourself to colleges. Now, in this day and age, that could be visiting colleges that are local to you. If you're in Chicago, that could be visiting colleges that are nearby that you've never been to before. If you're in New York, visiting college you've never been to before. But you have to go to a college campus and understand what they're all about. So exposure is the number one thing. Parents, please research colleges online. I don't care if you go to usnewsandworldreport.com. It's an opportunity for you to look at, okay, these are what colleges there are in the United States. Here's some information about them that they're presenting to you. So I really think that exposing your kid to colleges as early as possible is the first step to anything.
And I agree with you. The same thing with the financial aid process. I think if you know early on that you want your child to go to college, especially once they get into middle school, then that should be the prime opportunity for you to begin to start saving for colleges, begin to estimate the cost of college, whether they go in state or if they decide to go out of state. But those are some things you need to consider and think about as you begin to plan for students to go to college. I think too often we see students have frustrating or challenges when they wait to the last minute to
Correct.
try to attend college. If they wait to their senior year and they don't know what the college, what they want to major in, or what the school's focuses are, like what they're known for, those could be challenges as well as just the overall, like the deadlines, making sure they get things turned in on time and ahead of time so that they can be considered.
Punctuality. I love that's part of your STEP program, and that's key, right? Deadlines, and I'll talk about that more in a moment. But being aware of what's out there now, exposing your kid to it, and then learning how, if it works for you, or excuse me, for your kid, that's the way to think about it. Is this the right place for my child from a cost perspective, from a career trajectory perspective, from are they going to be successful here? These are the things you need to think about. And the earlier you think about it and have those conversations, the better off you'll be.
Great. That's key. Are there anything that you see in particular that are some challenges that students face, whether they're minorities or even with test scores? Is there anything that stands out to be a growing trend with some of the challenges that students face as they attend or apply to college?
I never ever tell students that they are victims because of where they come from or the color of their skin. I know that there are 3,500 different colleges and universities in this country, and there are plenty that want that kid for the right reason. So it's all about exposing themselves and assessing what's out there to identify the right place. Now, the trend about testing is a big one, yes. Increasingly, many colleges are putting less emphasis on standardized testing, and they're doing that very intentionally. They're doing that because they recognize that standardized testing is partially about how you prepare for it and how you can strategize to get the best possible score. So there are many, many schools that actually do not need you to submit testing at all. And I really applaud those schools because they allow students to be assessed based upon what they've accomplished over 4 years or 3 years at that point when they're applying, what they write their essays about, how they spent their time in their extracurricular activities. So I would encourage students not to let testing be an impediment or to slow them down from applying to college. Now, and I'm sure you'll speak to this, Sheena, are tests sometimes evaluated as part of admissions? Yes. Are they often evaluated as part of scholarships? Yes. So I'm not telling you not to take the test. I'm going to understand that you're going to have options on both sides, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense. I think that's good to know too, just because some students get afraid just because of the testing. If they haven't done good on testing from K through 12, then they get afraid as they begin to apply to colleges. So that is good. Some of the
Yes.
challenges I think students face in regards to financial aid are really just the fact that they don't prepare ahead of time, and also the cost, because the cost of college is constantly increasing. I think it's very key for students or parents also to really look at what is the cost of college, like the average cost of college in the state that they live in, and then how much would it be if they decide to go away? Because if they decide to go away, schools may not offer as many grant opportunities for them to have, let's say, the free money. And if their income, like parents don't think about this, but if their income is relatively high, they may not even qualify for some of those Pell grants or state grants. So they may be in a small percentage to get the Pell grant or the state grant. So when they always talk about, financial aid, it's not always, mostly it's student loans versus grants. So
Correct.
I think one of the challenges that students have is really not understanding the financial aid package before they go to school. Just understanding like what does it consist of, like the
Correct.
grants, the different type of grants, the type of loans, the different type of loans, because that's key. And for a parent and a student to really begin to assess if they decide to go to school in state, go to out of state, what is the school known to give you? And then, like you said, the testing piece, will that play a role in it? Will they be able to get additional scholarships, maybe a merit scholarship or grants because of their testing scores? So all those things play into students attending school, and sometimes it can be challenging for students and parents if they don't prepare for it ahead of time.
I couldn't have said it better. And I think one of the reasons why I'm so intrigued by the work that you do is you are committed to helping families to understand the financial aid process without going into debt. And debt is very, very real when it comes to college admissions and going to college. I will say, hands down, I didn't know all the things that you're teaching now, long, long time ago when I applied to college over 25 years ago. Um, but I think even more importantly, I think I do not advocate for students to go out of state or to incur student debt if they have, like, you don't have to nowadays. You can stay, you can get scholarships possibly. There are grants, there are systems in place to help you, but staying in state at a significantly cheaper cost is really, really a smart thing to do for many, many families. I've seen too many students go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt educating themselves, and they may never make that money back. So again, there's a lot of different factors that go into college admissions, and I think cost is a big one, particularly for people of color, traditionally. And I don't want us to be neglectful of that. Taking out parent plus loans and things of that nature, it becomes a burden to the family, and it becomes a stress, and it affects your financial health going forward for the rest of your life.
Yes, it does. I saw that you had an article, I believe, on your Facebook page about does it or do it matter what school you go to or something like that. So I think that's key because I think students are beginning to think about college differently,
Yeah.
which leads me to my next questions. What are some changes that you see in how college or college process has changed now versus the past 10 years?
It's a great question. So there's two different questions here. So how has college changed and how has college admissions changed? I'll start with the college admissions part. College admissions are marketing offices. They are using, they want people to be interested in them. They want to get as many applications as possible. So they market to young people and they help them to learn more about their school. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody wants to be seen. I think what happens in college admissions, though, is that kids who probably shouldn't be applying to certain colleges for a variety of reasons apply to those colleges because they've been marketed to. They don't know enough about the school, which is on them. They haven't done the research. But again, when you splash something in social media, when you splash something in people's email inboxes, they begin to think that you want them. You are baiting them to apply. And oftentimes, they just want your application because the more applications they have and the fewer students they take, the better they look. So I think that trend in college admissions bothers me a little bit, and it's changing because you assume that because someone has contacted you that you should apply to them. So that's one piece of the puzzle. But then what has changed about college, I think college is still the same. It's a place where students build great relationships. It's a place where they learn a lot, obviously, in the classrooms if they take full advantage of the experience. It's a place for them to kind of set the foundation for their career. So, with whether it's online learning through e-courses or experiencing different ways to engage a professor, some of those things have changed. But I think all in all, once you get there, it becomes a great learning ground for kids 18 to 20, 18 to 22.
Yes, I agree with that, especially the piece. Do you think you said the college send out, they want to get more applications in so they can accept a lower percentage of students? How does that play into transfer students? Like if students don't go directly out of high school, is it the same population or is it a little different because transfer students have a higher percentage to go to school or?
I like the latter. So when you're a transfer student, you're showing two things. One, you're not in as large of a applicant pool, correct? You know what I'm saying? Like when you apply as a freshman, everybody across the country, across the world is applying for a select number of spots into that school. And the schools have to be selective. They have to identify the right kids for the right reasons. So it's harder or more selective to get in as a freshman, usually. Transfers have the benefit of, yes, maturing for a year, or two, they go somewhere, they learn themselves, they get some credits in their major. They're more prepared to handle the rigors of college usually. On the flip side, the kids who apply as a freshman now go to the major university. Some of them don't make it and they flunk out. And then the school still wants to have students, so they take in the transfer. So transfer students benefit from kids not doing as well as they wanted to, and some spots become available. So traditionally, it's a little bit easier, as the word I'll use, but I don't want any colleges to say that he said it's easier to get in as a transfer. But traditionally, the fewer the applicants, the more, the better chance a transfer student has of getting into school.
That's good. I think, and I just want to I wanted to highlight that because I think that's also one of the ways in which college has changed in the past 10 years for students in regards to finances. I think in the past, we're starting to think about it a little bit differently. We're not just thinking about like, oh, I need to go to college, go to school, but we're starting to think about what will this or how will this impact me when I graduate from college so I can begin to assess, does it make sense for me to take out this amount of student loan debt compared to what my income potential would be? If a student decides to go to a community college for a couple of years and then transfers into a four-year university to still get that same bachelor's degree, that they will be showing people that they got a bachelor's degree. They don't show them, all the 4 years. They just show that they got a bachelor's degree. And
Correct.
so sometimes if parents aren't proactive or students don't know what they want to do and they're undecisive, they may not know what interests they have. Sometimes it may be beneficial for them to go to community college first to lower the amount of student loan debt that they have to take out and then transfer into the four-year school, not only from a financial standpoint, but sometimes even for the admission standpoint, if they have a higher percentage or percentage rate really to get into the school because the pool is smaller. So I did want to, highlight that just a little bit because I think those are some of the changes that we've seen today versus in the past where it was always looked down upon to go to a community college first, looked down upon, or not looked at, I would say, in regards to the student loan debt that you acquire. People just say, oh, go to school, it's an investment in yourself, you'll pay the debt back. Well, now we're seeing millennials like myself who has hundreds of thousands of student loan debt and we're not making the money to pay it back. And so,
Correct.
yes, it was an investment, but we didn't get the return on the investment to make it beneficial for us today. And so I always try to encourage parents and students to really try to think about college differently and think about what works best for you and maybe not to compare yourself so much to other people, what everybody else is doing, but to, just look at how is this going to be the best or mutually beneficial for me and the school, you know, coming out because we want you to go to school and graduate too. It's not just about getting
Correct.
in. You need to
Correct.
also be
Well
able
said.
to graduate.
And it's admittedly as an educator, I'm conflicted, right? I've made a living professionally, been doing something for over 20 years of helping students get into college, and I believe in that, and I want to share what I know with people who want to go down that path. Whether you're a student, a parent, a school, colleges aren't going anywhere, so we might as well figure out what are the best schools for you in order for you to live your dream. And if that's part of your dream, go. However, I will be also the first person to say college isn't for everybody. And there are, do you hear feedback? I'm sorry if that's me.
And maybe me. I'm
Okay.
okay though.
Okay,
Is
so
it?
we're
Do
good.
you still hear some now?
No, I'm good. So,
Okay.
thank you. So, yes, college isn't for everyone. And there are plenty of times when I will tell a student, you're not ready yet. You're going to waste your parents' money. You're going to waste your time. It's not the way to go because if you go there, you get D's or you blow your parents' money, then where are you? I really believe that more trade schools need to be part of the conversation. So after you finish high school, what's the next step? Should you become an electrician? Should you work in auto mechanics? I don't know. Should you go into nursing or something administrative assistant? I don't know who you are, but many of these professions are being neglected because kids believe I have to go to college when I could flip it around and say you need to be where you're supposed to be in order to support yourself in order to be a responsible adult. And it means a lot of different things for a lot of different people. And it's people feel funny when I tell them that, but you'll never hear me say college is for everybody. Because it's not true.
Well, thank you. I think that was a good a good point to end on, because as we begin this CAP program, and we're going to be working with a lot of different students from a lot of different backgrounds, and they need to know that we do want to encourage students to go to college, but we also want to encourage you to explore your options and to know what works best for you. So, Shireen, how can we get in touch with you? How can parents and students get in touch with you?
Great. My company is called Strategic Admissions Advice, strategicadmissionsadvice.com. Very simple. All the social media handles, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, all Strategic Admissions Advice. We help families and students to navigate the college admissions process. So if you want to be in touch with us, please use one of those outlets and we will definitely be in touch.
All right, and this is Sheena Hogue. You can find me at educationoverdebt.com. I am the author of How to Get a Bachelor's Degree with Little to No Debt, and on my Facebook and Instagram and every social media handle is educationoverdebt.com. Thank you so much, Shireen, for getting in contact with us and doing this webinar or this Facebook Live with us. We will, for students in the Chicagoland area, if you are interested in learning more about the CAP program or getting in contact with either one of us, I'm Sheena Hogue or Shireen, you can contact us at info at aka Phi Kappa Omega.org. That's info at aka Phi Kappa Omega.org. We will begin our program starting February 20th at the UCAN at the corner of Fillmore and Central Avenue here in Chicago. If you are interested, we are still selecting students today. And again, you can get in contact with us at info at aka Phi Kappa Omega.org, or you can send us a message here on Facebook. Thank you for your time, and we're going to go ahead and conclude this conversation.
Thank you, Sheena. Thank you as well. Good luck to all your students.
Thank you.